Encounter, engage, befriend. People want peace so much that one of these days government had better get out of their way and let them have it. Dwight Eisenhower.
If you want to end the war then, instead of sending guns, send books. Instead of sending tanks, send pens. Instead of sending soldiers, send teachers. Malala Yousafzai.
Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. Margaret Mead.
Encounter, engage, befriend. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. Rumi.
The best weapon is to sit down and talk. Nelson Mandela.
Peace is not merely a distant goal, but a means by which to achieve it. Martin Luther King, Jr.
Encounter, engage, befriend. Every kind of peaceful cooperation is primarily based on mutual trust. Albert Einstein.
Be the peace you wish for the world. Mahatma Gandhi.
How can you create peace if there is no peace inside you? Thich Nhat Hanh.
Encounter, engage, befriend. Peace is not the absence of war. Peace is the absence of fear. Ursula Franklin.
When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. Jimi Hendrix.
Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. Buddha.
Encounter, engage, befriend. If you want peace, you don't talk to your friends, you talk to your enemies. Archbishop Tutu.
If we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten that we all belong to each other. Mother Teresa.
Imagine all of the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will be as one. John Lennon. Encounter, engage, befriend.
Thank you, Tara and Flutarius, for that wonderful invocation. Welcome to all of you to Peace in the Middle East. It's a beautiful afternoon out there. You could be sailing or golfing, but you are here to talk about the most pleasant topic that we could ever think of. We all have options, and we are so grateful that you chose this to be your option for this Sunday afternoon. My name is Parvez Ahmed. I'm a professor of finance here at University of North Florida, and I worked with the University of North Florida's Interfaith Center and Atlantic Institute of Jacksonville to put this program together. We are thankful to our president, John Delaney, and his office for kindly sponsoring this program as part of the Distinguished Lecture Series at UNF. One small housekeeping note before we get into the program itself. At the conclusion of the program, in a few days, we will send out an online survey. Hopefully you will respond to the online survey, and we will be able to bring many more programs like this to you and improve upon what we do today. Before I invite all of the esteemed speakers and panelists to this event up on the stage, I just want to share a couple of thoughts. I have had the privilege to travel extensively through the Middle East, and including Israel and Palestine. And one thing that I have always struck with whenever I visited the region is that everybody has a narrative. Everybody has a story to tell. The only problem is that everybody believes that there is the only story to tell. And that's why we have a Middle East that is obviously one of the biggest challenges that we face, not only as people of faith who are engaged in these conversations or people who have an interest in national security or any other issue that you can think of. So how do we resolve this conflict? We are under no illusion that this conversation this afternoon is going to lead to lasting peace in the region. However, we do know that peace begins with an encounter. And this is the encounter that we chose for this afternoon. Having intractable problems with us is part of human history. We have always had problems. But history does not remember people who pause to tell us what their narrative of that problem is. But history remembers people who try to resolve the intractability of any problem that they see. So each one of us hopefully can contribute in ways big or small. But we cannot simply wait for the proverbial other to capitulate to our point of view before we think of a reasonable solution to the problem. So in my view, wars and walls do not solve problems, but dialogue and aiming to understand the other does offer us a glimpse of hope. So with that as a brief introduction, I would like to invite our panelists and speakers of the afternoon. First up, our moderator, Melissa Ross, needs no introduction, host and producer of WJCT's First Coast Connect. Melissa is a graduate of Northwestern University's Medill School of Journalism and Communication. She also writes for the Florida Politics blog. Melissa? Next up, Reverend Molly Marshall, President and Professor of Theology and Spiritual Formation at Central Baptist Theological Seminary, a graduate of Oklahoma Baptist University. She received her MDiv and PhD from Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. Molly? Next up is Imam Abdullah Antepli, Chief Representative of Muslim Affairs and Adjunct Faculty of Islamic Studies at Duke University, currently a DMin candidate at Hartford Seminary. Abdullah has an MA and GC from Hartford and has worked on a variety of faith-based humanitarian and relief projects in Myanmar and Malaysia. Abdullah? And finally, Rabbi Doniel Hartman, President of the Shalom Hartman Institute and Director of the iEngage Project. Rabbi Hartman holds a PhD in Jewish philosophy from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and an MA from New York University and an MA from my alma mater, Temple University. Daniel, welcome. I would now like to invite Tara up back again to explain how we are involving our millennials as part of this conversation, this important conversation that we are having here.
Well, first off, we need to let you know that there's a hashtag because all millennials use hashtags. And so that is UNF, what is the hashtag here? What is it? Middle East Peace, yeah. UNF Middle East Peace. So many of you are probably aware of the Pew survey that came out last October that said that our millennials, about 34%, are atheist, agnostic, or unaffiliated. So people think, well, not here in Jacksonville that's not true, but our climate survey said, yes, it most certainly is true. So we've been engaging our students, whether they are religious, secular, or spiritual and not religious. So we invite students to come in so we can dialogue around values. So you'll notice we're making some history today. You'll see on the front of your program we have 5 symbols. You're probably familiar with the first 3 from left to right, if you read left to right.
Okay.
The last one on the right is the happy human, and it represents secular humanism. So we will be expanding our dialogue today to include a secular humanist millennial, and I know from many of you in the audience, you represent that broad category of atheist, agnostic, and or unaffiliated. So we want to include you here because it takes all of us to make the peace sign. So let's see. From our millennials then, we want to invite up here Naomi Karp-Tillman. She has an MA. She's the coordinator for the UNF Intercultural Center for Peace. Naomi has a BA in Sociology and Near Eastern Studies from the University of Michigan and an MA in Higher Education and Student Affairs from New York University. Come on up, Naomi. T. Charles Hack is a sophomore pursuing a Bachelor of Science in Environmental Science and Geography. He's been involved very much with the Interfaith Center. Taylor Bump, a UNF senior studying international studies with a concentration in international relations and politics, and minoring in creative writing in Spanish. Come on up, Taylor. Another student involved with the Interfaith Center is Yalda Rahimi, a UNF senior studying nursing and student intern at the UNF Interfaith Center. She's also the vice president of the UNF Muslim Student Association. Come on up, Yalda. We're very proud to have all of these folks from near and far to sit down together and to help us have a conversation today. I want to let you know that after this conversation, we're going to do a little transition. We're going to do something that millennials do. We're going to actually engage one another. So this is an encounter opportunity. Then we're going to move to an engage opportunity. It's going to be a little different than you're used to, so I want to encourage you to come with an open mind.
That means we're going to be texting each other.
That is true. And so you will see some Post-it notes. One of your housekeeping details is to not move them, but to be aware of where they are. All right, I think I've introduced everyone, and I think I've done all the housekeeping, and so let us turn it over to Melissa Ross and the Supremes here. Just kidding.
Hey, everybody. Man, I agree with Dr. Ahmed. It is so gratifying to see such a big crowd this afternoon, and I know that you're all very eager to hear from this incredible panel. What is your personal connection to Jerusalem, since Jerusalem is at the center of so much of the conflict?
Hi, good afternoon. My grandchildren are 14th generation Hartmans living in Jerusalem. My grandparents left in '29, and my father and I were born in the United States, but we moved back to Israel in 1971. So the first thing Jerusalem is for me is home. It's personal home. But in addition to being personal home, it's the carrier of the dreams of my people for 2,000 years. When my people yearned to go home, they said next year in Jerusalem. And so when I'm in Jerusalem, I feel I'm fulfilling what 2,000 years Jews weren't able to fulfill. And it's the idea that regardless of how difficult life may be, tomorrow can be different. Tomorrow can be better if you have the courage to continue to hope. And but I would be remiss, as I came home, and as I'm in the city of my people's dreams, one of the interesting things that we all have to realize is that we could have 2,000-year-old dreams, but life doesn't stay static. And as I came home, there's other people also in my home. And my home is home to Palestinian people. My home is also the home of Christianity. and it's also the home of Islam. And so while I have a personal sense of belonging, there's something very powerful when we learn how to share our dreams. And so Jerusalem is for me both my home and the possibility that maybe we'll all learn not just to hope for a day that we're going to be victorious, but that we could hope for a day that we could actually see each other and learn how to share each other's homes.
Imam Antepli, how about you?
Greetings and assalamu alaikum. It is again a distinct pleasure. I would like to thank all the organizers for this beautiful picture that you present. I wish you could come here and see how beautiful a picture you present all together. People think religion is increasingly becoming irrelevant. Should come and see the kind of spark that you present here together. But in terms of Jerusalem, Islam, for those of us who are not really familiar with Muslim tradition, it considers itself as the youngest sibling of the Abrahamic family. Islam in its self-imagination, it always sees itself as the God's monotheistic message revealed to Judaism and then Christianity and then to Islam. So in so many ways, whatever Jerusalem is for Jews and Christians, that is also for Islam as well. But as we say, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, we are one Abrahamic family. We are spiritual cousins to one another, and our spiritual home, spiritual powerhouse, that's what Jerusalem represents to us. But whenever I use this Abrahamic family term, I have this discomfort in myself. I wonder, whenever Jews, Christians, and Muslims say we are one Abrahamic family, I wonder if Hindus and Buddhists and Zoroastrians and Taoists, they look at this Abrahamic family and say, boy, what a dysfunctional family. So Jerusalem is a dream. Jerusalem is a spiritual home. Jerusalem is a symbol of reaching God, ascending to the heavens, having direct communication with divine, having no mediation in between for Islam. But also at this moment, Jerusalem is a test to this Abrahamic family, whether or not we can act like one, whether or not where we can share our sacred, our spiritual home, whether we can make a space, religious, theological, and sacred space to one another, where we can respect our differences, but also celebrate our similarity in the house of Abraham, David, Solomon, and where Muhammad risen, the Prophet of Islam, to the heavens. Inshallah, I hope so.
Reverend Marshall.
It's good to see all of you this afternoon, and delightful to be here with distinguished colleagues and millennials, if you all want to be called that. I guess I had to go out and trap some of you in the woods. Yes.
Can I quickly add? I have 14 and 11-year-old, and they call themselves millennial. I said, I'm a millennial too. And my daughter said, you're from a different millennial.
You're not cool enough, Abdullah. I can describe my relationship spiritually and emotionally to Jerusalem in terms of pilgrimage. The first time I was there was 1974, not too long after the Yom Kippur War. And as I walked through Western Jerusalem one afternoon and a bottle was thrown on the street, I saw everyone tense. And I had a sense of what it must be like to keep this kind of vigil in this city. Lived in East Jerusalem that summer, taught English to Arab students, gained an empathy for how they experienced that city, even before the wall of partition, etc., and the checkpoints were installed. 1980, I went as a doctoral student to study at Tantur Ecumenical Institute. The first pilgrimage, I think, was to convert. The second, to critique. I was a know-it-all doctoral student. Interrogate this. The third time, 2013, 2014, to study at the Shalom Hartman Institute. There it moved from convert, critique, to conversation. And I realized as I experienced this wonderful mixture of folk in Jerusalem that I was the one who needed converting, to be converted to seeing things through the eyes of ancient claims. Rabbi, one of the experiences, though, of 1980, which I treasure, I was in the home of Rabbi Pinchas Pelly, who also has a very, very long connection to the land, who began to teach about Shabbat. And I realized there was something missing in my own experience as a Christian. But a Sunday morning, his wife convened a group of women to study Torah there in the home, so that we might be prepared as leaders when we have the opportunity. And I took that as a strong encouragement to me as a Baptist woman for whom not everyone has been happy that I have chosen to claim my rightful place along the way. I don't believe Baptist has to rhyme with root canal, although some think that it does. But the encouragement of these Jewish women was very significant to me.
I didn't realize some people thought Baptist rhymed with root canal. I'm learning something here. They all have great senses of humor too, right? It's great. Rabbi, as you do these types of events, and I know you've done some with the imam, when you get into your role as a faith leader and using faith as a path to peace, how do you see that being a part of this conversation, especially when the situation is so fraught and those that would pick up knives or rockets or guns are doing so in the name of faith? Do you understand?
Oh, absolutely. I just wrote a book about that. I live it.
Yeah, sure.
I think the first and most important job of a person of faith or leaders in the faith communities is to speak openly about their traditions' failures and their people's failures. I belong to a tradition where every year, as you begin the year, you ask yourself, who are you and who ought you to be? And on Yom Kippur, the essential part of prayer is a prayer in which you say, Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu. I have sinned. I have betrayed. I have done wrong. You don't stretch out and pound, you have sinned. That's not what religious people do. Religious people don't view the world to find the deficiencies in everybody else. A truly religious person who stands before God recognizes that you are incomplete and that the process of growth must begin with confession. And I believe that too many religious leaders are doing two other things, which each one is destructive in a different way. Some, in the name of God, are postulating and advocating death and murder. And one of the great tragedies of religion is how easy God can be a force for destruction and murder. Shouldn't have been that way, but it is. And so we have religious leaders who are leading the charge. They are embodying the evil. There's another group of religious leaders who are so beautiful and so sweet, they're irrelevant. Oh, my religion, and you have interfaith dialogue. Oh, my religion is a religion of peace. No, my religion is like, if everybody's such peace, why is our world so screwed up? Like, if everything is so phenomenal, why is it so wrong? And so what we do is we think that we have to sell our religious traditions, but we're being dishonest. I think the first job of religious leaders is to get up and to say, my community has work to do. And when religious leaders do that, then it's like you contract. You contract and recognize that you are flawed, and then you make room for others to recognize that they are flawed, and then you could maybe think about how we work on ourselves and then together create another world.
Imam.
A Native American elder gathers the tribe's young children and tells them, each and every one of you, there is a bad wolf, evil wolf, and a good wolf. And these two wolves will always fight throughout your lives. They will always fight with each other, evil wolf and the good wolf. WOLF. Turks can never pronounce W, so be careful. With my thick Turkish accent, I don't want to cause any accent or communication accidents. And of course, the kids immediately ask, which wolf will win? Which wolf will win? And the Native American elder says, whichever you feed, whichever you nurture, whichever wolf you empower and enable, pay attention to. You're absolutely right in your question that seeing what's being done in the name of Islam, in the name of Judaism and Christianity, but especially highlighted in this part of the world, what's being done in the name of Islam, evil things being done in the name of Islam. Absolutely, in that part of the world and all around the world, there are so many bad wolves fed for so long that they turn into monsters. ISIS is a very incredible example of how a bad wolf, if it is nurtured with religious, political, economic, social realities, how any religion can turn into that kind of evil. But paying only attention, as Rabbi beautifully said, to the bad wolf, and denying the potential of a good wolf in any religion, that religion can be a source of evil, bloodshed, death, and destruction. But if religion is drafted well, if religion is nurtured well, if religion is taught well, there is a good wolf in it, that it can be a source of reconciliation, peace, bridge building as well. So, unfortunately, many times, we are only content with the good wolf of our religion and turning a blind eye we are comparing the best of our religion with the worst of other people. And in the spirit of what Rabbi Hartman said, first, we have to own our bad wolves, our crazies. As despicable, as disgusting as these people are, like ISIS, like Al-Qaeda, like Boko Haram, Al-Shabaab, doing evil things in the name of Islam, as much as they turn my stomach upside down, I honestly don't have no right to say they are not Muslim, they are not part of my tradition. I can't say that. They are. They are example of how a bad wolf can take over and